Powered by Riverside FM.
So our next guest here was a cornerback and return specialist for the Cleveland Browns. His career statistics include 19 interceptions, 860 kickoff return yards, and 240 punt return yards. Gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Ben Davis.
Ben!
Hey, Ben, how you doing?
Oh, just fine. Just elated after a big victory yesterday. So, yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah, absolutely. And for context for the listeners, he is referring to the win over the San Francisco 49ers. We were recording the Monday after that win, and it was phenomenal.
Victory Monday.
Yeah. So now, Ben, before we get started and get into some of the questions that we have for you about your career, I'm going to touch on a big event we have coming up here in the spring. In the spring of 2024, we will be going on the Browns fan cruise together. That is confirmed. You'll be there soaking up the sun and blue waters of the Caribbean with all the fans and 17 other Cleveland Browns alumni.
Wow.
So we have to say, being that we are brought to you by the Cleveland Browns fan cruise, and the podcast of the Cleveland Browns fan cruise will be on the fan cruise, emceeing events on the fan cruise. We will be hosts of the fan cruise. We got to say, we're really excited to share that fan cruise with a legend such as yourself, Ben. And so can you tell our listeners a little bit about the Cleveland Browns fan cruise?
Well, we know it's Royal Caribbean independence ship that we're going to be on. We know we got 5 days, 3 out to sea and 2 and 1 in Jamaica and 1 in Bahamas. And we know it's going to be full of fun. And we know we're going to have great weather. And we know we're all going to have a great time.
Absolutely. I don't see how we couldn't, especially after the Browns end up winning the Super Bowl.
That would be a nice send-off.
Yeah. So, but we will get back to the fan cruise here in just a little bit. But for now, I actually want to talk about you and your story. So, first of all, I know you were born in Alabama. Can you tell us about your childhood, about growing up a little bit? We're going way back. We're starting way back.
Yeah, well, I guess initially I wasn't supposed to be a professional football player. My days began in the marching band in high school, and I was too small back then in Birmingham, Alabama, to go out and play football. So band was my activity, and didn't participate too much in sports except in the neighborhood where we played on the sandlot. And went away to school, went to a private school in Maine, and got there, and there was no band. So, and it was remote. The school, Bridgeton Academy, was remote. So I decided to go out for every activity that they had there, in as much as we would get a chance to get off the campus and see beautiful Maine. So went out for football there, never played, never did much of anything in terms of sports-wise, although I did play basketball, went out for the baseball team, outdoor camping, all that kind of stuff. And then went to a small school in Defiance, Ohio, Defiance College. You may have heard of it. And went out there. Well, the reason I went out because I asked the coach, Bob Walker, at my school in Maine, if I should continue trying to be an athlete. And with encouragement, I think he just said it, but he says, you know what, if you go out for football at this small college in Maine, you will win. By your senior year, you'll be starting. I said, okay. And that was enough for me to go out, and came upon a coach there in Defiance who had a strong commitment to football, to winning. And therein started my appreciation of football and my, I guess, excellence at that sport on a small time level.
Nice. So basically, you're saying, I was just going to say, you're saying you didn't play any football before you got to college.
Yes, you're correct. I did go out, but I didn't make the traveling team in some cases, and I didn't play until I got to Defiance College, and I played as a running back at Defiance, and we worked hard to give you how I guess isolated we were. We didn't have a weight room my first year. Our Coach Me showed us how to make weights with the concrete in a bucket and a bar, and told us how to work out in the summertime. It was pretty cool, pretty elementary. But what happened my senior year of college, we went undefeated. We did not lose not one game. We did not tie not one game. We were undefeated, and we had remarkable success. Now, how did I get drafted by the Browns is another issue. I ran track, and there was a teammate of mine who lived in Aurora, Ohio. His neighbor happened to be a scout for the Browns and a coach for the Browns. Well, my neighbor's father came to see his son run track, and I was in the same track meet, and was pretty fast. And so he went back raving about me to his neighbor, and his neighbor, Bob Nussbaumer, decided to put me on the radar for being drafted. Now, in 1967, the draft choices were numerous. There were 17 draft choices. And by the time they got to the 17th round, they finally decided the Browns to draft me. And I felt great. I felt this was a great opportunity to get a chance to at least try to play football. Now, my degree was in education, so I had a teaching certificate to teach school in Cincinnati, and I was looking forward to doing that. But this kind of sidetracked me, but I was enthralled by it. Bob Nussbaum, the coach, came to Defiance, and I'm telling my buddies, look, we're going to go down to the Holiday Inn, which was the big restaurant there, and have a meal, a dinner meal, and we'll negotiate this contract. Bob got there and he says, where's the cafeteria? so we ended up going to the cafeteria, and the contract was just straightforward. It was like, look, I'm prepared to give you a $12,000 contract, which was the minimum at that time, and I'm prepared to give you a $500 signing bonus. I said, well, look, Coach, I got a commitment to teach, and $500 won't keep me away from that commitment. Can you do it any better for me? So he says, hold on, let me go call Mr. Modell and see if he can give me some more money. So he I don't know if he went to the phone or not, but he came back and he said, okay, I'm prepared to give you a signing bonus of $1,000. And will you come? I said, you got it. I'll be there. What's the reporting date? So that got me there. Now, to tell you how much I felt wanted, we had a track meet in that spring, and the Browns were having their rookies in, and I called Bob Nussbaum, and I says, look, I'm having we got a track meet. I don't know, I might be a little late to get to the rookie camp. And he said, oh, no, don't worry about it. Go ahead to your track meet. Go to your track meet. Don't worry about coming to the rookie camp. We'll be okay. So I said, okay. So anyway, I report to camp in the summer of '67, July, and things started to roll my way. I was told that by the time we made our West Coast trip, and that's where we played the 49ers and the Rams on the West Coast trip, and then we came back to Hiram College, which is where we had our trip. Well, I was told that by the time I got back to Hiram, I would probably be cut, and so. But what happened? Something happened with the 49ers, as a matter of fact. I was a kickoff specialist, and the reason I was a kickoff specialist was because Leroy Kelly had been running back punt returns, and with Jim Brown's retirement, he became the number one running back as well as a punt return. So they were looking for somebody to return punts. But in any event, the Charlie Haraway, the guy in front of me, was hurt and didn't go on the field. And so I ran out on the field and was able to catch a few kickoffs, return them back for 50, 60 yards, and got some more time once we got back to Hiram. So, yeah. So then we went by the cut date, and I made the team, and I was elated.
Nice. So basically what you're saying is the Browns took a flyer in the 17th round on you based off of your neighbor's word of mouth praise of you, and it ended up being a really good move for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. Well, I was the 439th, I think, player drafted that year. And so, it's almost just had to be, I guess. And I got 10 years out of that. So I'm very thankful that it all worked out like that.
And I know you mentioned some of these names, the Leroy Kelly, for example. I will say, you talk about being a returner, and you're being a little bit modest. You were one of the better returners in Cleveland Browns history. In fact, only Leroy Kelly, Greg Pruitt, and Eric Metcalf have better seasons as far as punt return average than you do, or than you did your rookie season. So, you're in pretty good company there.
Well, yeah, you know what? It was great to be a part of a team like this. And I will say this: I went back to my hometown that summer, and I met with the high school coach in Birmingham, Rufus Harris. And I said, Coach, I've been drafted by the Browns. They want me to replace Leroy Kelly, or give me an opportunity to replace Leroy Kelly at punt return, and I need some help. And he had just happened to be playing. He played in the Canadian League, and he could punt the ball. So he says, "Okay, Ben, if you come here, I'll be here, and we'll punt. I'll punt to you. I'll put 50 of them every day if you can come here to camp." I said, "Hey, man, that's all I needed to hear." So Rufus, he knew the punt game. He says, "Look, there's going to be left-footed punters. There's going to be right-footed punters. The left-footed punters are going to have a different spin on it than the right-footed punters." And he laid me all the intricacies of catching a punt, and you need that if you're going to catch a punt in a municipal stadium at that time with the wind circling, the ball circling, and so but I was well prepared. I was well prepared to catch, and I knew how to run the ball punts. And it worked out well. In fact, it worked out so well that I led the NFL my rookie year in punt return yardage. And it was incredible. We had a great team. The thing you do in punts is they build a wall for you. Your teammates build a wall. You have one guy who takes the first guy coming down so you can catch the ball without being interfered. And then you try to make it to that wall. If you can get behind that wall, your guys set it up for you. You got a path all the way to the end zone. And we prided ourselves in being able to try to do that.
Yeah, good old days of punting. They don't allow that anymore.
Well, there's so many rules now. Yeah, there's so many rules about kicking that we won't get into that. But
we'll be here all night because I know we are not happy with how they've kind of tried to take the kicking game, the return game out of it these last few years here. But I do want to ask you one thing, Ben. You mentioned you were a wide receiver when you were in college. A running back when you were in college, but then when you got to the NFL, you ended up being not only a return specialist, but a cornerback. So how did you make that switch from offense to defense?
Well, I don't know how much time you got, but okay, that's another story in itself. I think once the Browns recognized that I could make the special team, then there had to be a position that I needed to play. Now, back in those days, the roster consisted of 40 players, and eventually, if you were a special team player, you had to make the transition into a regular position player. Now, I was drafted as a wide receiver, and Blanton Collier, the coach at the time, told me, he says, "Look, we got Paul Warfield, we got Gary Collins, we got Cliff McNeil, we got some, and we drafted Epi Barney. We got some guys. You won't make this team as a wide receiver. So I think the only position that you could make would be as a defensive back." So, and to say this, I feel very proud of the fact that the head coach, Blanton Collier, would take me aside after practice and would work with me individually. He made it so simple. He was saying, "Look, covering some body in football is almost like covering in basketball. You play basketball? Yeah, I like basketball. Okay, how did you cover? And we'd run up and down the field. He would go to the left. I would slide my feet and back up and continue to back up. And we did this, and things turned out pretty good because I started as a right cornerback my second year.
Yeah, you did start your second year, and that's not even telling even a part of the story because I know you had 8 interceptions that year, which is third best in Browns history, and you still hold the record for 7 games in a row with an interception. And I know that the Cleveland Browns that year had 32 interceptions as a team, which is still a team record. So you were part of probably the best secondary that's ever been wearing Cleveland Browns brown and orange.
Yeah, you have done your history. I mean, you looked up, man. You're right. We did set a record. The defensive secondary, which consisted, Erich Bonds was on the left corner, Mike Howell was the safety, and Ernie Kellerman was the strong safety. And that, along with the linebackers, we had 32 interceptions that year, which was a record, and it stayed for a long period of time. I was fortunate enough to get 8 interceptions. I got it was 7 games consecutively with an interception. So let me tell you how this happened and why this happened. Obviously, if you're an opposing quarterback, you see you got a rookie, you got a young guy over at the right corner position who was ready for me to start working on him. And on the left corner, you had Erich Bonds, who all-pro many years, should be in the Hall of Fame. And he had a way of dropping receivers with his forearm. If a receiver came at him, he'd just throw a little forearm out there and it's over. So anyway, I started to work. I was working hard every day, every game, every Sunday. I had balls thrown at me. And fortunately, I was able to intercept at least one every game for those 7 straight games. But the key to that whole experience was who I had to practice against during practice, and that was the All-Pro Paul Warfield. As in football, as in anything now, they want to see how you do in practice. So all the practice was videoed. And I knew I had to do some good during the practice. And I was able to hold my own to a certain extent, at least for a young defensive back going up against a guy like Paul Warfield.
No, that's phenomenal. And I mean, seven games in a row with an interception is just one of the most insane things I've ever heard. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, and I'll tell you this. Dandy Don Meredith with the Dallas Cowboys. I share these stories, so I'm sure I'll be able to repeat them again on the cruise. But Dandy Don Meredith was the quarterback in 1968 for the Dallas Cowboys. Renfro was a wide receiver, and I think I have the dubious distinction of being the last one to intercept one of his passes. Because during that game, he was pulled after I intercepted a pass. And from then on, you saw him in the booth on Monday Night Football.
So basically, Ben Davis is out here ending people's careers.
Well, in that case, I did. But he got on to a better career anyway.
No, I think Kenny does have a couple questions for you here.
Yeah,
so.
I was just curious too. So, like, you played it says 7 interceptions in a row. So, was this primarily like man-to-man coverage that you were running at that time? Was that the kind of your base defense, or was there what kind of different schemes, I guess, were you running in terms of a defensive back then?
Well, and that's an interesting question because the way defensive back plays now and back in my day is completely different. The most common coverage that we had was man-on-man with post help. That is to say, if a wide receiver is running a flag, an out pattern, a quick out, then the cornerback is responsible for covering him on those plays. If he runs into the middle, as you know, the easiest pass for a quarterback to throw is straight down the middle. So they'll give you what was then called a free safety. And they called him free because he was allowed to roam somewhat more. So you had help when your receiver ran to the post or inside. But anything, a post flag, any of those patterns out there, you were responsible for covering them. Now, in many cases, if you had a Warfield type a receiver that was you had to double team, you would sometimes get the win. We call him the win linebacker. That's the weak side linebacker, and I was on the weak side most of the time. He would come out in the flats and help you with some of the out patterns. But all in all, we had a little help from the linebackers coming for the hook pattern, the middle linebacker coming for the cross pattern. But it was mostly man-to-man with safety help. And there was variations of other coverages, and I don't want to bore you all with all this stuff.
Oh, no, this is great.
Fantastic. Listen, I know we never made it to your level, but we were both, you probably can't tell by Kenny's physique nowadays, but we were both DBs in high school. So. Oh,
wow. All right. Well, way to go. We got a forum here with DBs. And
there we go.
No, it's, they have a cover two now. If you hear a lot of the guys talk about a cover two was similar to what we call a two kick. And a two kick would be where I would roll up, the cornerback would roll up on the wide receiver, the weak safety would go to the outside, and they split the field in half on both sides. So, there are variations of what we did, but more refined, I suppose, I guess. We had, in some cases, we had Joe Turkey Jones. I don't know if you guys knew Joe Jones. Joe Jones was Myles Garrett has a run to him that reminds me of Joe Jones, the way Joe Jones gets in his defensive end stance, kicks his legs up. So we had some great rushers back in those days too, and that always helps a secondary in terms of getting their job done.
For sure. No, I just find it, to have that many interceptions this season playing man is unreal. I think in today's game, you watch a lot of these guys, they just kind of, their eyes are on the quarterback because they're in a zone and they're taking their read steps and they're always watching the quarterback. So it's a little bit easier, I think, just to follow the ball. Whereas if you're on a man, you're basketballing that guy all the way down the field until that ball's in the air.
And to that point, the Browns are lucky enough to have Denzel Ward right now, who's a phenomenal man coverage guy. And there's no way he's ever going to have probably 7 interceptions in consecutive games. So it's just crazy to think about.
Yeah. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I got a lot of work over there too. With trying to avoid a seasoned veteran on the other side, they overworked me and kind of made the best of it, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Can you talk about too? Just obviously, the game has evolved quite a bit since your playing days in terms of a lot of ways, money and the way workouts and things go on. Can you talk about just like you mentioned in the off season, you were working with a coach doing like catching punts and things, but what else? Like, did you work out all off season long? Did you have did the Browns prepare? A regimen for you, or was it kind of just like what was that like in the off season?
Well, it's good. I'm glad you brought that up because in the late '60s, you would break camp at the end of the season. You'd get all your stuff in your bag, pack your car up, and you go back to your home. In this case, Cleveland was my home, and you got a job, and you worked for the next 5 or 6 months, and also, as you did that, you worked also on your game as well. But you had a dual issue back then. You had to make money to live with, and you had to stay abreast of your game as well. And the football side of it was such that you could not afford to get out of shape. The workout areas that we had were not that great, but I remember here in Cleveland, because that's where I would stay during the off season. Walt Johnson, he was a good friend of mine, defensive lineman. We would try to, in 72, 71, 72, Nautilus had just come out, and we couldn't find a Nautilus machine in the Cleveland area. We drove up to Menor, the Menor Heisler Racquet Club. They were the first with the Nautilus in the area, and we drove up there every day to participate in that new technology of weightlifting. So yeah, you can see the transition, and you can see what's happened over the years in terms of working out. Now, you ask about that, I'm going to tell you a little bit more. Each off season, I had the opportunity to do different jobs. My first off season, I went into the National Guard unit, so I had to go to Fort Benning, Georgia, and participate in boot camp. And this was the best thing that could have happened for me because, man, you know,
talk about staying in shape.
Service, yeah, you're in shape. You get up in the morning, you got your combat boots on, and you're at 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, so I came back, and you know that might have been why I had such a great second year too. Okay, but after that, I worked with Coca-Cola. I worked with Cuyahoga County social event where we went to boys and girls detention homes and worked with the kids there and orphan kids, and so we got a chance to do that. So I got a little bit of everything in terms of business, in terms of social side of learning during the off season as well. So real estate, so on and on. So yeah,
a wide array of odd jobs that you kept during the off season.
It's just incredible.
They were odd.
It's just incredible because you kind of have to start over every off season with something new. I mean, like you can't imagine there's a lot of places that are just letting you have 5-6 months off at a time.
Right.
But so just incredible thinking about that. But was it at least like? Was there an advantage to getting a job because you could at least go like, hey, I play for the Browns, and they were like, all right, that's cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, when I got to Cleveland, man, if you were, and it's even more so now, if you were a Cleveland Brown player, you could walk on water. I mean, you could do anything because we love our fans, we love our team so much here in Cleveland. In fact, I mean, you've heard this before. Bland Collier, my coach, says we lost one time, and man, he was everybody was unhappy in the locker room. He says, "Look, you guys feel bad. You go up there on East Euclid and East 9th Street and look at the people going to work on Monday morning, and you tell me how they feel about this game." So now I got a great indoctrination into what the Cleveland Browns mean to the city of Cleveland and the surrounding suburbs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that actually is a really good segue into my next question here. So, spending time with a franchise, it's obviously more than just playing football for them. You kind of become involved with your teammates, you become involved with the community. So with that in mind, is there a favorite off-the-field memory that you have from your time in Cleveland?
A favorite off-the-field moment. You know, you're taxing my memory back in those days. I know. We did a lot of. We played a lot of golf. We tried to get away and play golf with my teammates. We joined the Cavaliers. Bingo Smith. He helped. We all had things that we would do together, sports wise. My favorite off the field memory. Well. I got married.
That's always a good one. Yeah,
that's a memory that's still going on.
So you're picking up. You've been married a while now, right? So you're picking up brownie points. You know how it's done. You know how to stay married for a long time.
Happy wife, happy life.
Well, yeah, it's working out that way. So I might have to come back to that a little later.
Well, and we'll see you on the fan cruise. So, we'll be interviewing you again on the ship.
I'll by then. In fact, I'll be able to tell some of those memories without being fearful of a broadcast situation.
There you go. That's what we're really looking forward to. No, so I will say, obviously you had a great career. You excelled in every position you were ever put in, and it's awesome that we can claim you as a Cleveland Brown. But for most guys, they kind of get this life after football. And so, can you tell us what you're up to today? Are you involved with any charities? Are you involved with the game? What do you got going on?
Well, after I retired, I went to work with Xerox Corporation. Xerox, at that time, I was looking for a corporation that would train me as well as give me an opportunity to succeed in the corporate America, and did well. Spent 5 years there, and all of a sudden I got a notice that I was RIFed. For anybody that doesn't know what RIFed is, it means a reduction in force, but for no reason other than the numbers just don't fit. But anyway, I went out, started my own business at the time, got into cable TV, got a radio station in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and continued my connection with Xerox in the form of a reseller. So that took me on into retirement. Yeah, it was a good life. It was a very good life. It allowed me to send 2 kids to college and raise them. And I feel very good about that.
Nice, very nice. And no, that's all fantastic. And it sounds like you're a phenomenal family man. So we do love that. We both just recently became fathers ourselves, so we appreciate we have a newfound, I'll call it
understanding,
or even I'm actually leaning towards fear of the cost of college. So yeah, I can appreciate putting kids through college a little bit more now than I used to.
Well, yeah, and it's so much more tougher now. I can imagine.
Oh, I just did a thing the other day that told me that they do the future estimated cost of college, and it tells me that my daughter, it'll cost $375,000 to put her through college.
You better start saving.
I know.
You get another job.
Another like 3 jobs, I would say. Right. No, but I do want to bring this back to the time that we're going to share on the open ocean, and obviously those amazing stops that you mentioned along the way. So let's talk about some of the things that everyone should look forward to on the fan cruise. What's the activity or event that you yourself, Ben, are looking most forward to on the fan cruise?
Okay, let me say this. The first cruise that I went on was my parents' 35th anniversary, and we got as much of the family that could get down to, we went out in New Orleans, as a matter of fact, and we went out, and it was the closest that we've been, we all have been, and we got a chance to just enjoy one another. And I think that's the main activity that you find in a cruise such as the one we're going on in March. I mean, you're going to be with fans, football fans. You're going to have the opportunity to ask any questions, just like you all are doing, about my life and how things have gone. So yeah, but in addition to all that, which is wonderful in itself, you're gonna see Jamaica. You're going to see Jamaica in March, which is, getting out of Cleveland in March after cabin fever set in is probably the most wonderful thing. You're going to see the Bahamas. You're going to see just beautiful land, beautiful sand, ocean thing. On the ship, there's water platforms. There's slides and water. There's probably basketball courts. There's competition sports-wise. I mean, you're going to be, and you're going to have a lot of food, and you're going to have a lot of.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So what do you have? You have the ingredients for a wonderful time, and especially if we win the Super Bowl in February.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, you really summed it all up pretty well there.
I'm ready to go right now.
Yeah, can we leave tomorrow? No, but real quick, I do want to say there is a competition for the Browns backers out there. So I just want to go over that. The chapter with the most bookings will get an all expenses paid balcony cabin for 2 on the Browns fan cruise. The chapter with the highest members to bookings ratio also gets an all expenses paid ocean view cabin for 2. All members of the winning chapter will receive a specialty dining pass for 2 guests, and all members of the winning chapter will receive a Browns fan cruise commemorative Cleveland Browns autographed football. And so with that in mind, knowing that the Browns backers are having this competition, do you have anything that you want to say to Browns backers across the nation and actually across the world?
I'm so happy that you exist, number one. I guess you all, the Browns backers, came out of the Cardiac Kids era when we just started to, the last minute we would win a game and we were just so exciting throughout the whole world. And so it's been able to continue. And you guys do a wonderful job. I went down to Dayton this past summer for a Browns backer golf outing and signing. So, it's a great institution to have supporting the Cleveland Browns and the fans. So if I were playing now, I would truly enjoy the Browns backers and the barking that you guys do.
Yeah, the dog pound, baby. And we really appreciate that. They are an organization like no other, and we're happy that we root for a team that has a backing like them. Last question for you here, Ben, before we sign off. Cleveland Browns, they've started this season. They've had some ups, they've had some downs. What are your thoughts on the Browns so far this season? And also, how do you think they'll fare the rest of the way?
Well, I tell you, I had an opportunity to go out to the Browns practice earlier this year, and you could see, especially I watch the defensive backs, especially in the defensive backs, you can see a different attitude about how they approach the game. And with the new defensive coordinator that we have, I think that is true. These guys now are playing offensively from the defensive side of the football. They are making the offense do what they want them to do, and they know that what they want them to do, they can stop that play. If you understand what I'm saying, So and the corners we got, man. Denzel Ward, he's a veteran. He just hits so hard. He hits so hard to be his frame, but boy, he makes those receivers hurt. Greg Newsome, he came in from Northwestern with just a lot of energy for this team. So, and Emerson, he reminds me a lot of Erich Barnes. He's a tall guy. Erich was about 6'2", 6'3", and Emerson was a tall guy too. And man, he can move. So yeah, those corners are just. They just know how to shut down. Back in the day, you had Prime Time. He was the shutdown man. He was the one shutdown man. But now you got 3 shutdown guys in the secondary at the same time. So yeah. I say that to say that our defense should be responsible, and as we saw Sunday, was responsible for shutting down one of the best offenses in the NFL. So, yeah, we can continue to do that, man. We should be able to carry this baby a long way.
Yeah, and it is crazy to think if you mentioned the corner specifically. We have Denzel Ward, Newsome, and Emerson. You're like, if a guy goes down, that's terrible. But you basically have another Pro Bowler stepping up to take a spot. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy to think about. And obviously you're talking again about the 49ers game where for probably the 5th time in 5 games, the defense absolutely shut the other team down. And almost single-handedly won the game. So
Well, and they say that the yardage that we I guess we're leading the NFL now in yardage allowed.
Yep.
And
we've allowed 1,002 yards through 5 games. It's the best in 50 years.
Incredible. That's back in my day. That was
sure is.
But, I mean, when you can do that, when you can shut down an offense like that, and you can do it continuously, man, you got something for real. And then we did lose Chubbs, which it was a sad day, a very sad day. But we're finding that we're picking up the slack with Hunt and Ford, and so. Yeah, I mean, just get our quarterback situation stable, and I think we're off to the winning line. So let's see if we can do that.
Absolutely.
Great spending time with you, Ben. This has been awesome. Just hearing some of the stories. I did have one final question too before we wrap up. And obviously, you came into the Browns right at kind of the end of Jim Brown's career. Obviously, we lost the great Jim Brown this year. But just being in Cleveland around that time at the end of his career, and maybe as a part of even the alumni organization with the Browns, do you have any special interactions with Jim at any time during your time with the Browns or the alumni organization?
Yes. In fact, I reflect on my first meeting of Jim, and it was, we had what was called a runner-up bowl in 1967, and basically we got eliminated from the playoffs after losing a game in the playoffs. Then we went down to Miami, Florida. We spent a week there, and then we played. In this case, we played the Rams in this bowl game, and so I was sitting on the bench, and Jim Brown walks up to me and he introduces himself to me in street clothes. He's in street clothes. He walks up, and I was awed by the fact that Jim Brown came up and introduced himself to me. Now, later on in life, Jim Brown, as you know, was a competitive person. He was competitive in everything that he did, and including golf. And Pruitt and I, he's going to be on a cruise with us. We got a couple stories we had together with Jim Brown in terms of playing golf and what the outcome was. So we'll tell all the fans on the cruise a little bit more about that competition that we had with him. It was 2 of us against 1 of him. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, and we actually do have some really good stories from Greg about the time spent with Jim Brown golfing. So we've heard some already, and we're looking forward to hearing more on the Fan Cruise.
All right, good.
So, Ben, listen, it's been fantastic having you. We really appreciate your time. And like I said, we can't wait to see you in March, and we will do some more catching up then.
All right, and I have the dubious distinction of being with 2 defensive backs in the room, too. So I had a great time. Guys. And see you on the cruise.
All right, see you on the cruise. Thank you, sir.
I'm Ben Davis, and you're listening to Burning River Sportscast. Go Browns!